Alrighty.
Well, hello. Hello, everyone. We are not quite at time yet. We are going to start at 10. So we're just going to wait for more people to join. But thank you, if you are in here now, for joining us. We're excited to chat with you all today. But again, we'll just give it a second.
Got a lot of our fun props ready.
I know. It's always a delight. Thank you.
That's yours.
All right.
God, I'm just like tired.
I also love how this video always uploads before I can edit it. So, sorry, everyone.
It's just how it goes.
It's how it's going to work today. That's fine. I'm ready with my glove. We need more representation in these. Like, we're talking about gloves. I'm going to use my hand with the glove on it.
All right, and I got the cool one. You mean like a ninja?
Yeah, you're all black. You don't even see it. Okay, one more minute. I think that. And again, if anyone has questions for us throughout the live stream, just drop it in the chat, and we will answer questions at the end. And we always love hearing from you, so please do. All right.
I feel like
I
you're
feel
really
like we're
fancy little lady.
me.
I do. With my
Oh, I was like me, my orange fancy lady.
Yours is cool. With the
I know. I
the
kind of like
grippies.
this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one I'm going to be using.
That's the one I steal for yard work. I steal a box of those in the spring, and you can
Oh, that's nice.
weed, pick up poop, all the stuff with those, and they don't rip. They're great.
Gareth showed me the poop trick. If anyone knows, we don't need to go over it, but
Pick up the poop.
potential for
Dog owners.
replacement. Okay, so we are at 10 a.m., so let's get started. Again, thank you for joining us. We're excited to chat with you all. It is the Glove Lab. Woohoo! And our goal is to make this interactive. It's very casual. We're here to answer questions, give information in a way that's not in the form of like scientific journals, all the good things.
We want it to be more fun because everybody needs it, and gloves can be a real pain in the ass. So we're trying to make it fun.
Yeah. And make sure to click subscribe because we're going to do this every month. So,
and if you have a topic you want us to cover, let us know. For such a simple product, there's actually a lot of things that go into it and a lot of concerns, a lot of things to deal with, a lot of choices you have to make, that kind of thing. So if you got questions, let us know and we'll cover it the best we can.
Yes. Okay.
Well, all right. Should we start off with who we are? I suppose I'm Sarah and this is Ashley. We are both in the marketing department for Eagle Protect. Ashley is the one that would be in charge of social media. If you ask questions, that kind of thing, she'll be the one that you're interacting with. And Eagle Protect, we are the world's first B Corp that is a specialist in disposable gloves and clothing. We're really proud of that. We also, what makes us a little bit unique is we developed a proprietary glove quality testing program called Delta Zero. So we actually test a range of our gloves when they come to the US for microbial contamination and durability, which is something that only we do. Oh, yeah. Well, hello, glove fan.
Oh, hi.
So that makes us a little bit different. And we really try to raise the standards of the glove industry because they are not held to a high enough standard. And we think that that's really unfair. So we're trying to bring the gloves up to the standards that everybody else is held to, especially in the food sector.
Yeah. And in case we did not cover this, I realize this live stream is all about glove contamination. So physical and microbial, that is the name of the game today. So we always like to start these off with kind of a fun question. And I guess this month's is going to be a little bit more serious, but it's what's the most surprising food safety fact that you have learned in the past year that might have been surprising or just, I guess, something new?
Yeah, definitely probably not fun, just a little maybe weird. I guess the one that caught me off guard was before I was thinking, ooh, there's like old food or something like that. If you nuke it or you freeze it, it just kills it. So I'm thinking
Right.
everything in my freezer. I love freezers. I just pack everything in there and you got meat for the year, you know. And but then I found out that Listeria doesn't just live, but actually thrives in cold environments. And that just really kind of creeped me out a little bit, where it's like, oh, we need to do a lot more than just freeze something to kill the bacteria.
Yeah.
I guess that's my weird.
Yeah. And like without a kill step, you're kind of like
Yeah.
totally exposed, which is a
Yes.
bummer. That's a good one. I think that mine, so I've only been working here for 6 months around and love it. It's great, but I am learning so many things about food safety that I did not know before. And it does freak me out a little bit, I have to say. But I think the most shocking one was that there have been studies that show that there are fecal matter indicators on gloves.
Yeah. Poop.
And that's disturbing to me. That's a really, like, I just never had even thought that that would be a possibility. But, you know,
Yeah.
poop is a thing. Fecal
So-
matter is a thing. So
Quick note, when factories make the gloves, it's really water intensive. They're rinsing the gloves. And if they don't sanitize the water enough, whatever's in the water is now in your gloves. And a lot of times the water comes from outside. And that's, so you can understand where everything in that water can get on your gloves. And it's
a little
yeah,
scary.
definitely
It's a little-
something to take serious. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So if anyone has anything to contribute, okay, I'm glad. Okay. So I wasn't the only one who didn't know that. We got a comment. Throughout this, we'll kind of go over a little bit more, obviously, of glove contamination. So there are a few different kinds or ways that this can happen.
Yes. And we have our agenda here where the new budget hasn't come in yet for this year. So
I don't think it will.
all right. So first we have dirty gloves. We have improper glove use, hand hygiene, foreign material contamination, and chemical contamination. Those are what we're going to cover today. The last three, to give you a hint, have to do with the gloves ripping, which we know is a huge problem that people are dealing with. And so we want to go over the different kinds of contamination and then kind of a quick how you can mitigate these risks. Because more importantly, knowing the risks. No, knowing the risk is there, but more importantly is how to alleviate it and get rid of it. What's the smallest size of gloves you sell? That's a good question. It depends. We do have a little bit different range depending on what glove you have, but we do have an extra small glove.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is, it is a small glove, but we do go down to an extra small, not in every single glove size.
Yeah.
But then we go up to a XXX, same thing, just not in every glove size.
It depends on which one you're using, what you need it for.
Yes, but I believe our sensitives will go down to an extra small.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to it.
The dirty gloves.
Dirty gloves. Are we talking when workers wear gloves, or what form of dirty glove are we talking right now?
Yeah, as workers wear gloves, they do get dirty, of course. Like, let's say I'm handling food and they're going to get stuff on there, but that's actually not what we're talking about. Shockingly, it's kind of had to do a little bit with what you were mentioning as your semi-fun food safety fact. There's been research showing that new unopened boxes actually have contamination inside of them, and they just come that way from the factory. And I mentioned it has to do with the dirty water sources, dirty factories, the lack of quality assurance processes and things like that. But just to continue the gnarliness here, they found listeria, they found fecal matter, E. coli, anthrax. We've a lot of things were found on these gloves where it's just somebody needs to be checking. And so it's disposable gloves practically touch everything we eat too. That's the kind of secondary part. So it touches everything we eat. And then companies follow all of these rules. They do everything right. They have all the training, they have all the procedures and everything. And then just because they bought contaminated gloves, the gloves can touch the food, and then now the food's contaminated, and they did everything right. It's just unfair. And that's where gloves need to be better.
Right. So and this is obviously a serious problem or serious thing. We have to take this seriously. So what can a company do about this?
So the best way to mitigate that is to get gloves that are third-party tested, and they test, and this is where we'll put in our plug for Eagle Protect. we really are trying to raise the standards of food safety with gloves. And so we developed Delta Zero. We third-party test for microbial contamination, for durability, for strength, for to make sure it's not going to be irritating your skin, all that kind of stuff. And I think we're the only company out there that's really doing this, and we're trying to lead the charge. Hopefully other companies follow, everything like that. But I think that's the best way just to make sure is get gloves that are tested.
Right.
And you can get test results. A lot of companies will say, oh yeah, they're tested, the FDA test. The FDA does not check. The gloves have to pass one time where they submit, and then they're never checked after that. Food gloves are not checked. They're compliant with the food safety or the FDA food compliance standards.
Right.
Meaning that the ingredients used to make the glove are good for handling food.
Right.
That's it. And it's like, so there could be, I can't say that. There could be stuff all over the glove and nobody checks. And it's just not fair. It really leaves companies exposed, and it's a loophole that we need to close.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And it's obviously very serious, something to take seriously. So
yes.
What relates to this also is improper use of gloves, which is very serious as well.
Yes, it is. And this one is I don't want to say easily avoided, because training and people, there's always so many moving parts.
Right.
And making sure people do it right, take the training seriously. It's not easy. So I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easily addressed through training.
Yes.
If a worker's wearing disposable gloves and they touch a contaminated surface, whether it be their face or their hair, or they pick up their phone, or I touch another part of the processing facility that I'm not supposed to be touching, and then I come back and I handle the food, it's really easy for cross-contamination to happen. And I'll be honest that this doesn't matter what kind of glove you have. Even if you're using our Delta Zero gloves and I go touch a bunch of other stuff and then I come back and I handle my food, that cross-contamination can happen.
Right.
So it needs to be handled in the training. This isn't really a glove issue if workers are touching contaminated surfaces and then coming back and cross-contaminating food.
Right. And getting people to follow a food safety standard or procedure it can be difficult. I mean, that's a training part of things, and it needs to be continuously monitored and improved upon. So I understand that there's obviously going to be some, I guess, barriers with that at some point.
It's an ongoing challenge, but that's with everything that a company does. It's like training is something that needs to be ongoing. You can't just do it once when they start the job and expect it just to carry off forever.
So third on our list, I'm going to get this little
kind of
also relating, hand hygiene.
Yes. And like I said, the last three have to do kind of with the gloves ripping. And that is, see if I can do this. So hand hygiene is important because everyone needs to wash their hands. And we wash our hands well, and you say, I wash my hands. Why do I need to wear gloves? Well, the gloves are necessary for food safety. And a lot of it is because like around the fingernails and things like that, it's nearly impossible, if not impossible, to actually get all of the bacteria off of our hands. And so we need people to wash their hands well. But okay, so I have washed my hands.
Yeah.
I probably didn't get all the bacteria off my hands. And so it's inside of my glove. I wear the glove. It's going to get a little damp, a little moist. Some people get sweaty. Some people have those hands. It just happens.
It happens.
But then let's say the glove does rip. And here we have a little experiment for you.
We'll see if this works. We did not practice thought process behind it. Okay.
All right. So she's going to put a little bit of water in my glove. That's right. Okay, so I'm handling my glove or my food, and I'm doing that. And there's a little bit of sweat in my glove. Let's say my glove rips. See if this works here. I don't know, this will be a worker comp claim after this is over. So if I cut this, and then now all of that sweat that was inside of my glove that has the bacteria from my fingernails in it is now dripping onto your burger. Enjoy that burger now that it's nice and juicy.
Yeah, good.
So it's one of those where sometimes it's not as obvious if I don't have hands that are massively sweating and things like that.
Yeah.
But on a microscopic level, that is what happens.
Yeah.
So inside the glove, as soon as that glove is compromised, the bacteria inside the glove actually can flow and drip onto the food.
Right.
Something you may not see, but it is happening.
And it's happening on a microscopic level, which is
even
more terrifying. And a side note to that as well is I guess in order to address ripping, it's better to source appropriate gloves for the task that don't rip, so that you, like, essentially in the first place, because you obviously want to avoid this. So glove suppliers will be able to help with this. You can get essentially like commercial trials from glove suppliers where you can test gloves before you decide to buy them, or permanently, maybe not permanently is the right word, but go forward with using these gloves. And you can ask your sourcing department to only order a specific glove, that brand, that thickness, whatever specifications you need, because then they can communicate to your distributor, we do not want substitutions. And then that there's reliability with the glove that you're getting each time. So that's important.
Exactly. And next, I believe on the list, I'm sorry, we have water everywhere now. It is very, very damp in here. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about foreign material. So foreign material contamination means that there's actually chunks of the glove that have gotten into the product that you're producing. So when we see recalls and things like that, and it says blue plastic chunks, we always assume this is gloves. Blue is a very common color of glove used in food processing because we don't really eat blue food. In general, out in the world, if it's blue, it's poisonous, so we don't eat it. So besides blueberries, which are kind of purple, I suppose.
I would say blue.
Well, they're supposed to be, right? Okay, so besides that though, a blue glove in general kind of contrasts with what's being handled. So it's not the only glove color used. And actually, segue, next month we're talking about glove colors because this is really kind of an evolving trend that we would like to dive into. But in general, blue is a very popular color. So let's say I have my glove and I'm wearing it and whoop, a finger rips off because I did something and it pulled. Now I have, in this case, would be black plastic chunks in the food. And that commonly causes recalls. And the best way to avoid this is to try out the gloves before you buy them. You need to know that the gloves work.
Yeah.
And then there's also, you need a company that makes a consistent glove. So once you know the glove works, you know it's going to work every single time. Yeah. If they're sourcing from all these different factories and they're putting everything together, factory A might make a little bit different glove than factory B.
Right.
The glove switches sizes, it switches quality. Every time I'm opening a different glove, I just don't know what I'm going to get. So you need to find one that works, find a company that's consistent, and then you tell your distributor, this is what's on my shelf. Do not substitute it out. I don't want anything else. I want this glove because I know it works. And then that really helps with ripping. And then that will really help address foreign material contamination, which is more common of a problem than you'd like to think.
Right.
And even if it doesn't go to a recall, I want to say, we always say recall, but recall is like when it's out in public and we need to get, it's extreme.
It's extreme.
It's maybe more common if we said like a product withdrawal. And I noticed that little finger chunk is in my food and I just have to take that lot of food and I have to toss it away. Yeah. It's just really expensive. Even if it doesn't go to the recall stage, just wasting all that product, it's expensive and it really takes a knock on the production efficiency.
Right.
So having a glove that works just kind of greases the wheels, if you will, keeps it running.
Right. And lastly,
here, hold on. We got a comment here. This is the one downside of vinyl and poly gloves. They rip so easily and it's hard to tell when they rip and you'll almost never be able to see it in the food until somebody's eating it. Yeah, surprise.
Unfortunately, this is true.
That's very true. Vinyl, we do not believe in vinyl gloves. We don't sell vinyl gloves. We don't think they're food safe. We think there's a lot of chemicals in there that are bad for the wearer, they're bad for the environment. Yeah. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, we just do not believe in vinyl gloves. Poly gloves are great. This is a good point. Poly gloves are great and they are a good option. But they're a good option when you're handling food for maybe up to like a minute or two. Right. If you're just grabbing a few different things, if I'm a Starbucks worker and I'm like grabbing your muffin or something like that, like it's just in small quantities. In food production, especially being clear, it is hard to see if they rip and things like that. So they have a purpose, but it's definitely one niche,
mm-hmm.
One area that they're best used in. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Thank you for commenting in the chat, by the way. It's always nice to chat with people while we're doing this.
You just can't see your faces.
I know. And then we have our last point here.
The chemical contamination, which is always a little
scary. So It's totally understandable how this chemical contamination is a huge concern. I mean, and we're talking chemical contamination, chemical exposure is maybe the better way of saying it, because we're talking about exposure to the wearer.
Yes.
So if your glove rips and you get a chemical burn or something of that sort, that's what we're talking about. So the company has to make sure that the glove can withstand the chemical that's being handled by their workers. And secondly, the glove has to be durable enough to be effective and not rip. So there's a lot of factors here.
There is. Chemicals can be a little bit tricky, and sometimes we get questions and people ask a totally valid concern. It's like, what glove works with this? Or does your glove work with this chemical and that kind of thing? And it's always a little bit tricky just because there's some really gnarly chemicals out there. And I mean, when it comes to like sanitation and things like that, they have to be used. Or sometimes there's certain processes that just use a little bit stronger chemicals. And it's really hard, and we want to be careful because we never want to endanger somebody. We do not want to risk chemical burns, that kind of a thing. It's a really serious thing. So when it comes to chemicals, what we recommend is, well, I would say with chemicals, okay, why it matters is because let's say there's chemical A. Chemical A can come in different strengths. So even when you say the name of the chemical, it's hard to know exactly what chemical you're working with. So it's just better safe than sorry. What we recommend is you take the glove and you just lay it on somewhere safe that with a good surface.
No hand.
Of course, no hand inside of it. And you put the chemical on top of the glove. And then it also depends on how long this glove is going to be in contact with the chemical and just the amount of exposure that it's going to have. So you let it sit on the glove for that amount of time, if not a little longer, to be safe. And then you see what happens to the glove. See if there's degradation, see if it's breaking down, see what happens to it. And then you'll know if it's safe to handle this chemical with your hand inside of it. So we recommend really doing that testing process before you handle the glove, or before you handle the chemical. So, but equally important, we'll say on the other side, again, where the last three come to ripping, ripping is really a huge part of this problem. So it has to be able to withstand the chemical. But if the glove rips, like, it doesn't matter if it withstands the chemical or not. And it's just like full exposure. And that's just absolutely horrible. As a worker, you just don't want to risk that. As a company, you don't want to risk that. Just to keep everybody protected, once again, I feel like we're just harping on the same thing. It's making sure your gloves work. They aren't supposed to rip. If I catch it on a sharp object, on something like that, it does rip. And it can rip. And there are some instances, they're not unbreakable, but in general, you shouldn't have something constantly ripping. It shouldn't be a frustration. It shouldn't be something that's frequently happening. So when it goes to that, I would say the most common thing that we see happening that kind of like leads to this problem is a facility will use the same glove everywhere. And so they buy a glove. We have nitrile gloves and put them on the shelf. Everybody use them. And they may buy a glove, let's say a 3 or 4 mil glove. That's absolutely fabulous for food processing. It is just rolling and rolling. We are just whipping through everything. And it's like the perfect glove for food processing. But then you have your maintenance or your sanitation department come in and they're cleaning drains. They're fixing things. They're working with wrenches and they're working with chemicals. And it's like they're doing pretty aggressive tasks, but then they're using the thin glove that the processing line does. And it's like, it's just a risk. And it's a little bit hairy when it comes to things like that, where trusting that thinner glove that they bought for a different department to work for your department, and your department has some serious personal risks. So that's where we recommend the sanitation department we have a fantastic 6 mil glove, you guys. So our
shameless plug.
So it is. It has a great chemical rating. Our Visible is a great 6 mil glove. It's durable. We've had really good success with some of our customers using it in the sanitation department. But then we have other gloves for food processing. And so we really recommend buying a separate glove for your team that is handling and using the chemicals, just for a safety thing. It's a necessity.
And I think, you said it all really well, but I think that's it's obviously very important. It's very scary to worker, like you can just, you save money, workers comp, like you don't have, that's a very like capitalistic way of viewing it. there's also the person's well-being, but I do think that money talks in some instances.
It feels like a callous thing to say, but it is what matters. It's like, you can't have all these worker comp claims. You can't have people not coming to work because they have chemical burns they're overcoming.
Right.
So there's just these things that you really, need addressing and take seriously, and just having a separate glove that handles each task at hand really, really can help.
And we will be talking about some of this and a bit of this capacity next month.
Yes.
So essentially, to wrap it up, that is our 5 points of contamination that we wanted to talk about today. And we always like to wrap things up with questions. We did get one in the chat, which is amazing. Okay, so how would you recommend the gloves fit? Because I've always wanted my gloves to be pretty much skin tight.
I would say for glove fitting, some of it is personal preference and some of it depends on the task that you're doing.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I'm a medium. I have big hands and long fingers. So when a glove fits, the big thing is there's 2 things. If you want it tight and that's what you're doing and you really like it, I know this is a thing I've heard in like the cannabis industry for trimmers. They want that just tight as shit because then they can really feel what they're doing. They're not catching anything with their tiny scissors. And so I understand having it tighter. So it is a little bit of a preference thing.
Same with medical.
Yes, you don't want them too tight though. So as soon as you start doing things and it's stretching the glove too far and having the glove rip. So if you're having ripping problems, I would maybe reevaluate how small you're going. But if you're not having ripping problems and you prefer that tight, go for it. The tighter it is, sometimes it is a little bit harder on your hands, on your muscles and things like that. Your hands can get tired, sore, that kind of a thing. So just keep an eye on that. But if it's working for you, then go for it and it's working. Yeah. In general, it's also important, I'll say, to have a sourcing department also get a range of different sizes because not everybody has the same size hands. As in earlier, somebody was asking for the smallest glove we have. I couldn't fit like one finger into some of those gloves because I need my medium, if not a large in some gloves. So just to have a range that fit people. But in general, you want to have it fit. You don't want a lot of excess here. You don't want a lot of excess at your fingers. Because if I was wearing, let's say, like an extra large glove and I have something like this at the end, where if this is just extra material, when I'm working, it's going to get caught, it's going to get snagged, it's going to rip. And that could actually lead to the foreign material contamination too, and having chunks of your glove rip off because you have a glove that's too loose and baggy. So it's kind of both where you can have too small, you can have too big. You just need to find that Goldilocks glove and find that's just right.
And then they said small probably fits me how medium fits you, but I typically wear extra small. So yeah, I guess user preference. And if it works for you, then great.
Yeah. And it really depends on everybody's hands. I mean, it's like we don't all wear the same size shoe. Why would we all wear the same size glove?
Yeah. And also depends on the glove thickness too. An extra small and a thicker glove will definitely not feel the same as an extra small and a thinner glove.
Yes. And sometimes there's a little bit of different sizing between companies, and because they'll have the formers that their factories use and things like that. So it is good to try them before you buy them.
Yeah.
Make t-shirts.
That'll be our next live stream. Okay. Can you show comparison between the medium and a small? I'm sure we can.
Ooh, I have it mediums.
I have to recruit someone to grab a small. Here, we can get this.
Yes, we will.
But just give us 1 second. Okay. Okay. What is the best glove for food handling?
Okay, this is a good loaded question. All right. So for food handling, I would say if you are, like we talked before, depends on what you're doing. So if you're talking food handling, as in I work at a restaurant and I'm building a sandwich or I'm grabbing the muffin, that kind of a thing where I'm just doing something, very light tasks for a minute or two, a polyethylene glove is great. If I'm going through just a massive ton of gloves because I do a couple things and then I go to the cash register, I take it off. I do a couple things, cash register, take it off. You want a cheap glove, but you want a glove that's going to last for those couple minutes. Polyethylene is a fantastic choice. When it comes to food handling, or the food processing, that's maybe a little bit more intense, if you will, then we definitely recommend nitrile gloves. Latex, we don't recommend at all because they can have proteins in it that people are allergic to. And if anybody has allergies, you definitely don't want to eat something with what you're allergic to on it. Yeah. So we recommend nitrile, a very high quality nitrile, of course. We recommend Eagle gloves, best gloves. But then it depends on the thickness also. Where I would say if you're going from food handling in a restaurant, you could probably go with our 2.6 mil, something that's thin. It's comfortable, it's thin, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
But then if I'm going through something where there's a little bit more going on, I might need my 3 or 4 mil. But if I'm in like the meat processing, and that's where we're getting a little bit more intense, you're probably between the 6 and the 9 mil. So it really depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
But in general, unless you're doing really short-lived food handling, we recommend the nitrile glove. But really, the polyethylene is a great choice. And we do offer some of those, and they're actually comfortable for what you would think. They kind of look like a Mickey Mouse glove, but they're actually quite comfortable, and they can be a cheaper option that is food safe, but nice on your budget. Because if you're throwing away nitrile gloves every minute, that's just insane on your budget. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So we did have our lovely helper bring in smalls. So that was the medium on Sarah, and then she's going to put on the small. All
right. I suppose I should put a medium on.
And I'm actually a large, so I'm not going to partake in this part.
Judgment.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So
well, it just goes to show that it's like, I think we could share clothes, but we couldn't share gloves.
Yeah.
I mean, you just need different sizes. All right. So this is my medium with my big hands. Your big hands.
Yeah, I was going to say.
All right. So this is going to be small, and I'm going to be able, this is the fine tough. So this is our 2.6, and I'm sorry, I have jewelry on. I'm breaking all of the rules. I ripped it. All right, so that could be something that happens if your glove is ripping all the time. Is it too small? Perhaps.
If you have jewelry, we did talk about this in a past live stream too.
Okay, so this one is just a little bit harder to get on, but it works. It works, and once I get it on, I could use this, and I have less on my fingertips. I may actually prefer this when I'm doing something. You can tell it's a little webbed here. So you can see that my fingers are a little bit longer than what this one is for. And I do feel a little more stress on my hand because it's a little tighter. So I can just tell this one is going to be more comfortable for me if I'm wearing it all day.
Yeah.
But I could get this on and it could work. Yeah. So it is a matter of preference and also what I'm doing. If I'm doing something with sharp objects, I may want something that's tight and I just really know what's going on. If that makes me feel more comfortable, that works. But if you're putting a glove on that's too tight, give me a second. All right. Well, sometimes
scared.
Sometimes.
Well, it's funny because we did get a question. Do the gloves rip easily depending on the size of the gloves when pulled down?
Okay. Sometimes gloves rip when you're putting them on. Okay, this one.
This shows you.
Oh my God. Okay, this is so embarrassing.
Okay, wait.
I'm such a wuss, I guess.
No, not really. Oh, goodness.
Got it. Okay, so yes, they rip. They can rip. Eagle gloves are very good gloves. And yes, so Eagle gloves are very good gloves, and they do have a lot of stretch. And getting a high quality glove will help if you're putting on a glove that you prefer to be a little tighter, because there is more stress on the cuff, and that it is a common break point in a glove.
Yeah.
So that is also something to consider if you prefer wearing your gloves a little snugger.
Glove pin. I'm scared. Me too. I was too.
Geez.
So it's okay.
I've popped myself in the face before, to be honest. When you're doing that, you're pulling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good. Not good.
All right.
Well, I hope that helped because, yeah, I mean, it's all, again, dependent on preference and what, you want.
What you prefer. So if anybody has any other questions about gloves or contamination, otherwise we'll just say that was a fun date and we'll see you in February.
Okay. Well, we did have some questions, but we can always address them next month as well.
Oh, you want to see her do the large?
Oh, goodness.
Oh, you're funny. You just want to see if she can break a glove?
I will probably hit Sarah. So I don't know.
Well, here, why don't you try to smush a medium onto those big mitts of yours?
Hands. To be fair, I can wear, oh, yes. Hi. I can wear a medium glove in general. It's just, again, preference. Yeah, sorry. I always put it on down. And for me, like this, I think would be probably the right size for me in this glove. But if we I was wearing the diamond earlier, and I think that one I would probably want to go up in because you can feel the strain in your hand. So like I mentioned before with how thick the glove is can depend on what size preference you have. So like this, I think fits great. I mean, you do get a little bit of webbing, but on the whole, it feels nice.
Yes. Yes. If that makes
So
sense.
if that helps, I'm sorry if I can't try on a larger glove, but the medium and the large you can do interchangeably depending on the glove. So thank you everyone for joining us. Again, our goal is to do this once a month. We will have our next one in February. And that one is actually on Tuesday, February 11th.
Yes. And we're going to be talking, like we said before, about kind of a trend that we're seeing a lot in the food industry, but in other industries as well, as using glove colors as kind of integrated into safety protocols and using gloves a little bit further, and then having glove colors, but then also gloves per different departments, and kind of we're trying to view gloves as not a glove is not a glove. It's getting a glove as equipment, and you would not buy the same equipment for every single, I'm not going to buy the same outfit to protect you in every single department. It's like, why are they wearing the same gloves? So kind of how to spec gloves, using colors to using the textures to using the thicknesses to using that kind of thing, and kind of explaining the trends that we're seeing. So we can.
Yeah, which I think will be helpful because we have gotten some traffic with
it's very cool to see things evolving.
Yeah. So, and if you have a topic that you think would be helpful to cover, or you would like to see, let us know, because we would love to cover it. Okay. And again, make sure that you subscribe. We love hearing from you guys, and thank you again to everyone who contributed to our chat. We really appreciate it.
So CG getting sassy pants there. Just want to see if we can pop ourselves in the face.
Yeah, I would like to avoid that today, but
the black eye.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining us on our Glove Lab all about contamination, and we will see you next month. Bye everyone.
Bye.